Hey guys, watch this video till the end. We need your engagement to strengthen our community. So please do subscribe. This motivates us to grow. Thanks for watching.
Nobody tells you this before you're born. One day, you'll walk into a room and people will start laughing. Not because you did something funny, not because you're trying to entertain them, just because you're you. The strange part? Nobody explains why. And when you're a Chihuahua, that confusion follows you for most of your life. Because from the very beginning, people never seem to agree on what you actually are. Some people look at you and see a dog. Others look at you and see a toy. Some see a companion. Others see a joke. And if you're unlucky, you spend years trapped somewhere between all of them.
The first time it happens, you're too young to understand. You're standing in the middle of a living room, a room that feels enormous. The couch looks like a mountain. The dining table looks like a skyscraper. Even ordinary footsteps sound like distant thunder. Everything is huge. Everything is loud. Everything is moving. And somehow you're expected to figure out how to exist inside it. At first, you think everyone feels this way. You assume every dog grows up staring at furniture larger than entire landscapes. You assume every dog feels tiny. You assume every dog has to dodge feet the size of wrecking balls. But eventually, you realize something. Most dogs aren't living in a giant's world. You are. And that changes everything.
Because being small doesn't just make life harder, it changes how everyone treats you. The first clue appears when people pick you up. At first it feels nice, comfortable, safe. Whenever something feels scary, someone lifts you off the ground. Whenever you're tired, someone carries you. Whenever you're nervous, someone rescues you. It sounds wonderful. And for a while, it is. Until one day you notice something strange. The floor is becoming unfamiliar. You spend more time in people's arms than on your own paws. More time being carried than exploring. More time being protected than learning. And without realizing it, a quiet little problem begins growing. Because confidence works like a muscle. If you never use it, you never build it. Meanwhile, the world keeps getting bigger. New sounds, new places, new strangers, new experiences. Everything arrives faster than you're prepared for. And every time something startles you, someone scoops you up again. The scary thing is, everyone thinks they're helping. Nobody realizes they're accidentally teaching you a lesson. A dangerous lesson, that the world is scary and that you aren't strong enough to face it. Years pass. The lesson stays. Now you're older, still small, still living in a world built for creatures 10 times your size. Only now something else starts happening. People stop seeing fear and start seeing attitude. A delivery driver walks toward the house. You bark. Someone laughs. A visitor enters the room. You bark again. More laughter. A stranger reaches toward your face. You back away. You bark. Everyone laughs harder. That's when life becomes unfair. Because nobody asks why. Nobody asks what you're feeling. Nobody asks what scared you. They just see a tiny dog making a lot of noise. And the internet loves that. Videos appear everywhere. Angry Chihuahua, crazy Chihuahua, psychotic Chihuahua, tiny demon, tiny menace. Millions of people laugh. And you become famous for something you never intended to be. Fear. The joke gets bigger. The misunderstanding gets bigger. And eventually, the misunderstanding becomes your identity. Imagine being terrified. And having everyone around you think it's comedy. Imagine sounding alarms nobody takes seriously. Imagine trying to say, "I'm scared," only for the entire room to laugh. That's the part people rarely think about. Because fear looks different when it comes from a small dog. If a giant dog growls, people get cautious. If a Chihuahua growls, people reach for their phones. The exact same emotion. Two completely different reactions. And after enough experiences like that, something changes inside you. You stop expecting people to understand. You stop expecting people to listen. So instead, you become vigilant. Constantly vigilant. You watch everything. Every doorway, every stranger, every unexpected sound, every movement. Not because you're aggressive, because you're preparing. Preparing for danger before danger arrives. And honestly, can anyone blame you? From your perspective, everything is bigger than you. The dogs are bigger, the people are bigger, the noises are bigger, the problems are bigger, the risks are bigger. If something goes wrong, you don't have size to protect you. You don't have strength to protect you. You don't have intimidation to protect you. All you have is awareness. So you become very good at noticing things. Sometimes too good. That's when another problem appears, one that's even harder to escape. Because eventually, people start believing the joke themselves. And when enough people believe a joke, it stops being a joke. It becomes a reputation. And reputations have a strange way of following you everywhere. Even when they aren't true. Especially when they aren't true. Which becomes a serious problem. Because soon, you'll discover that being underestimated can hurt just as much as being feared. And unlike the laughter, it starts with something small. Literally, you jump off a couch, something most dogs wouldn't think twice about. For them, it's nothing. For you, it feels more like a controlled crash landing. You hit the floor, shake it off, keep going. No big deal. Until it happens again, and again, and again. Because when you're built this small, ordinary life becomes surprisingly dangerous. Beds are taller, stairs are steeper, furniture is higher, falls are harder. Even excitement can become risky. A single bad landing, one awkward jump, one moment of bad luck, and suddenly everyone is rushing towards you. The scary part? You don't understand why your body seems to break more easily than the world expects. But that's the problem with being tiny. The margin for error gets smaller too. Meanwhile, life keeps moving. You keep trying to be brave, keep trying to keep up, keep trying to prove you're more than the joke everyone thinks you are. And for a while, you succeed. Then, another invisible problem begins. One nobody notices at first, not because it's hidden, because it's easy to ignore. Your mouth. Tiny dogs often carry a burden most people never think about. A mouth crowded into a space that was never quite large enough. Teeth competing for room. Problems building quietly. Month after month, year after year. You can't explain it. You can't point to it. You can't tell anyone exactly what hurts. You simply keep living. Keep eating. Keep wagging your tail. Keep pretending everything feels normal. And that's another strange curse of being a dog. The people who love you most still have to guess what's wrong. Because pain doesn't come with subtitles. It comes with tiny changes. Changes most people miss. A slower appetite. A different expression. A little less energy. A little more sleep. And suddenly, your life becomes full of invisible battles nobody else can see. But honestly, those aren't even the hardest part. The hardest part arrives because of something nobody talks about enough. Love. Because Chihuahua owners tend to make one mistake. The exact same mistake. They fall completely in love with you. Not normal love. Not casual love. Obsessive love. The kind that turns a dog into a shadow, a tiny companion that follows someone through every room, every hallway, every morning, every evening, every routine. And at first, it feels wonderful. You finally found your person. The giant human who understands you. The giant human who protects you. The giant human who listens when nobody else does. The giant human who never laughs at your fears. For the first time in your life, you feel safe. Completely safe. And that's exactly why what happens next hurts. Because one day, that person leaves. Not forever, just for work or school or errands or life. But you don't know that. All you know is this. The person who makes the world feel safe is suddenly gone. The house becomes quieter, bigger, colder. The clock moves slower. Minutes feel like hours. Hours feel like days. You wait by doors, wait by windows, wait by sounds, wait by hope. And that's when many Chihuahuas discover a truth nobody warned them about. The stronger your bond becomes, the harder separation feels. Some dogs handle distance easily. You don't. Because for years, you've been building your entire universe around one person. And universes don't enjoy being abandoned, even temporarily. The cruel irony, the very thing that makes people love you, can also make losing them hurt more. You become attached, deeply attached. And one day, you realize something heartbreaking. The world spent years treating you like you didn't need protection. But emotionally, you might need it more than anyone realizes. Because underneath the reputation, underneath the barking, underneath the memes, underneath the attitude, lives a creature constantly searching for safety, constantly searching for reassurance, constantly searching for belonging. And then life reveals the final twist, the one nobody expects. Remember the beginning? Remember how people laughed before they knew you? How they decided who you were before they understood you? The strange thing is, many never stop, even after years, even after loyalty, even after love, even after proving yourself. Some people still see the stereotype, the tiny angry dog, the noisy dog, the dramatic dog, the joke. But your family sees something different. They see the dog that stayed awake beside them during hard nights. The dog that followed them through heartbreak. The dog that celebrated every happy moment. The dog that somehow occupied an enormous space, despite being physically tiny. And that's when the biggest realization finally arrives. The real curse of being a Chihuahua was never your size. Not your bark, not your reputation, not the laughter, not the stereotypes. The real curse is spending your entire life trying to convince the world you're bigger than they think. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and often succeeding only after people take the time to truly know you. Because once they do, the joke disappears. The stereotype disappears. The assumptions disappear. And suddenly, all that's left is a dog. A loyal dog. A sensitive dog. A brave dog. A frightened dog trying its best. A tiny dog carrying feelings much larger than its body. And maybe that's why Chihuahua owners never forget them. Not because they're perfect. Not because they're easy. Not because they're fearless. But because they spend their entire lives proving that the smallest creature in the room can sometimes leave the biggest mark. And long after they're gone, long after the toys are packed away, long after the beds are empty, long after the barking disappears, people still remember them, not as a joke, not as a stereotype, but as family. And maybe that's the strangest thing of all. The dog everyone laughed at in the beginning
is usually the one people cry over the longest.
Hey guys, if you have landed onto this part and this is the end of the video, I want you to please subscribe to our channel, which is Pawer. Please do subscribe to our channel. This would motivate us to provide more education to you over the dog community.